Hey guys, welcome back to the Kool-Aid Podcast. Welcome back to episode 32. On today's episode, we're going to be giving a roundup of matchday 5 in the UCL. Let me introduce my co-host Alex.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So matchday 5, it was a huge match day. We had big teams dropping out of the Champions League. We had a couple upsets. We had drama. We had everything. Um, the Europa League is going to be looking very nice. Some big teams dropped out. What do you make of the Champions League so far, Alex?
Well, I mean, just looking at the, like I always said, at the teams that got eliminated
Yeah.
and just like all of the crazy games that went on, I think it's been a really interesting season.
Mm-hmm.
It's for sure a little upsetting. Obviously it goes without saying that Barca won't be able to stay in the competition, but it's also, I think from a footballing perspective in general, as neutral fans, it's also
Mm-hmm.
sad to see that teams like Sevilla aren't there. And I know there are rivals in the league, but it adds quality at the end of the day. But like I said, great performances. I think teams that have surprised me, teams like Napoli, they've been extremely dominant.
Napoli have been very good so far.
Mhm.
So far in their group, they won yesterday 3-0 against Rangers at home.
Mhm.
Napoli has been on fire this season. In the
For sure.
Champions
Yeah,
League,
no, they,
they
they,
they
they've been a
scored
good side. I think.
they scored
Mhm.
20 goals and only 4 against. And we have to remember this is in a group with Liverpool and Ajax,
Yeah,
and they've
granted, Liverpool hasn't been at their greatest, but still,
it's
you have
Liverpool.
a great quality team. Yeah, and Ajax always producing good talent. For sure, it's crazy to see that they played the way they have. It's not
Hmm.
crazy. I mean, it's a team that's been rebuilding for a couple of years, and they did let go of some people in the summer, some important players like Insigne, Koulibaly. So credit to the management of the team and the players for creating the chemistry, sticking together.
Hmm.
Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. So that was Napoli's big win. Another huge upset was Atletico Madrid. They drew with Bayer Leverkusen at home, 2
Mm.
2-2. There was some late drama at the very end
Yeah, the
where,
Carrasco penalty miss.
yeah, the Carrasco penalty miss, and you saw the Leverkusen players get into Carrasco's face and just screaming at him, and that was such an intense game. Do you feel like it's the end of Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid?
No,
You don't think so?
it should be, but it won't be. I
Mm-hmm.
just think Atletico isn't ready to be switching coaches just because, and this is a very hot take. I think Atletico are very close to a revival,
Okay.
and I think,
What do you mean by that?
yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I think under Simeone they could do it. I think a revival in the sense of, well, listen, they've lost some good players over the years, right? They lost Griezmann for a period of time where he was at his peak, quote unquote. And now he's back, but with injuries and all that, they lost players like Golin. They have an aging team overall. Like, although they have good quality, like Marcos Llorente, Joao Felix, it's a team that they've in a way they've had some problems like ours, right? That they have new talent, yes, but they also have older
Mm-hmm.
players slowing them down.
What I think is a problem with Atletico Madrid is I sincerely do think Diego Simeone's time is up. I feel after their league title win, I thought that was like the perfect send off because I don't think Diego Simeone is the type of, is going to leave Atletico Madrid through the back door. I don't think they're going to sack him. I think he's going to want to leave with his head held high.
Right.
So I honestly thought that like, that was a perfect chance to just say, hey, I've behind the league titles. I've been to finals. I've done my best. Because when you look at Atletico Madrid so far in the past years, they've been very disappointing for the team that they have. They have such attacking talent, amazing attacking talent, and they're
Yeah,
just not taking advantage of it.
it becomes an issue of what everyone refers to as parking the bus, right?
Yeah,
He's a very defensive minded coach, and that's fine, but you have to counterattack. You have to be balanced. You have to be like
no.
teams like
Yeah, but right now
Inter,
they're not like
Tottenham.
they're not playing like like they don't like have an identity. When you look at Atletico Madrid, you
Right,
don't
right,
know
right.
when
No,
when if they're going to be
uh,
defending, or attacking. They're like in a mix of both, and when you mix
right.
both, you
Yeah,
get lost.
it's an issue for sure, and we see this. They also lost players that I thought were good for the team, such as Kieran Trippier, a very
Yeah.
balanced player himself who
Hmm.
can do both. And
Hmm.
I don't know, I just feel like they have, like you said, like an organization right now, and they don't really know what they're doing tactically. But I mean, like I said, I think Diego Simeone is gonna take him somewhere in the next season if he doesn't leave this season.
Yeah.
And what you say is true though. Atletico have been very underwhelming considering how well they've done. They've been to a Champions League final. Um, they've won the league, one of the hardest leagues
Twice.
in the world, yeah,
Twice.
twice.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
can't
It's
ask for a lot
impressive.
more than that, right? He's
Yeah.
I
And it,
think he's a coach you gotta look at and be like, well, he's been good. He's been a great
yeah,
coach.
yeah, he's a legend of the club, but I sadly think that his time is up at Atletico Madrid, and because they didn't get that result, they didn't win. They're going to the Europa League, um, and another team who's also going to be going into the Europa League is Ajax.
Mm.
Ajax lost 3-0 at home against Liverpool. Ajax have been very underwhelming so far. Ajax have not been looking great in the Champions League. What are your thoughts on them so far?
Well, I mean, we gotta, and this is, I think we see this throughout a few teams, not just us, but we gotta consider they've lost some important people. They lost Ten Hag,
Hmm.
right? That's already fatal. Um, they lost Haller, right?
He went to Borussia Dortmund.
Dortmund. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say he went to
Yeah.
Dortmund. They lost
Mhm.
Haller, so they're a team that's the main issue with Ajax. They are a factory of players. They release good talents every season or so. They'll do good in the Champions League. They'll do good in Europe. Then they'll just sell them. That's their
No.
philosophy, and it's sad because at the end of the day, Eredivisie, as good of a league as it is for young players, it's kind of like the Bundesliga, right? Those are two leagues that top players aren't going to be playing there. And when I say top players, I mean the top of the top, the best of the best. Usually don't play there in those
But
leagues just because the
yeah.
competition isn't at the highest, right? So but it's a good league for young player development, and those
Hmm.
leagues, and in this case Eredivisie, especially with Ajax, they have one of the best academy systems in the world.
Yeah.
So it's just a problem. I think they've lost great players in the past. We see this firsthand with us. We got the young. They lost in that same season. They lost to Spurs in the semifinals. They lost Hakim Ziyech. They lost Delict. They lost the young Van de Beek. So
Yeah, and like after being pillaged in so many in so many years, it's very hard to continue
no, of course, and
improving when
this
all your main
happens.
players are disappearing.
This always happens to Ajax. Give them
Yeah.
2 or 3 seasons, they'll be
Hmm.
at the same spot as they were before.
Hmm. But now moving away from Ajax, we move on to the holders, Real Madrid. They lost away from home against RB Leipzig,
Mm,
3-2. It was a shock performance, just because like while I was watching Real Madrid, Real Madrid usually has this habit of like where if they're not under pressure, if they feel comfortable, that they're relaxed. And when they're relaxed, they tend to lose. When you think about the performances, for example, the 4-0 in which we won against them,
mm.
they came into that game thinking, oh, it's Barcelona, they're in a poor run of form. We're going to easily be able to beat them. And what happens? You don't come in focused, you lose 4-0. And today I saw signs of that as well, where Real Madrid thinking we're already through to the next round. Let's leave Benzema, let's leave Courtois, and no, let's leave Modric, and let's just go through the motions. And RB Leipzig went out there with the intention to beat Real Madrid, and they won.
And they did, yeah.
Yeah, and they won. And right now, Real Madrid do have Celtic in the next match at home, which they should win. But second place, RB Leipzig, if they win against Shakhtar Donetsk, we could see Real Madrid finishing second. But I highly doubt that.
Yeah,
And even though this is Real Madrid's first loss of the season, I don't think it's anything to worry about.
it doesn't matter to them, right? They're not in that spot. They just need to. I mean, just with tying, they'd be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, with losing, they'd be fine. Yeah.
um, but um, there's also a sort of a race to see who finishes in first in group. I believe it's Group E, to see whether Chelsea or Milan finishes first.
Yeah, and
But
this is a very interesting group. I think it's been one of the most dynamic ones, just
yeah,
because you look at the way it started. Chelsea began that group terribly. Um, they
hmm
lost one of their first. Yeah,
they
they lost
lost
against Dynamo Zagreb. They lost against.
and then they
Uh,
drew.
no, yeah, they didn't lose any other games. They just tied, right? They tied
No, no, no,
against.
no, no. They lost against Dynamo Zagreb away from home.
Right,
I
right.
think
No, I know, but I'm saying that they tied against Salzburg, and then they just won the rest of their matches. So
yeah, against they lost the double header against Milan. Um, Which now, when I think about it, I think Milan is can't get in second. I mean first, just because I think Chelsea has the head to head. But Chelsea won their game away from home. I thought it was a decent performance. Managed they got the 3 points, and it looks like if Milan, if they beat Salzburg, they're going to be able to get through to the next round. But
for sure.
another team who's really exciting is Benfica. Like, have you seen how Benfica have been playing so
Oh
far this
yeah,
season?
but I'm not surprised though. I've been saying this. Benfica is a top European club,
Of
and we see
course.
this with the production of their players and this is a similar case with Ajax. Although this isn't so much the academy as it is, um, like smart marketing, right?
Hmm.
Benfica is such a good team. I believe Ederson came from Benfica. A lot of top players in great European teams have come from Benfica. And we just look at the squad. A player that in particular I love is the striker. I think is Taremi.
No, I actually think it's. Hold on. I think his name is Ramos.
No, no, no,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Mehdi Taremi, yeah, the Iranian striker.
Hold on. Let me
Yeah,
pull him
he
up.
was the one that got Player of the Week actually.
Um, well, yeah, him. I'm having trouble just put it up, but yeah, but Benfica have been looking really good. They won
And
4-3 against Juventus, and it could have been a lot more. Um,
for sure,
the, the,
I think what damages them the most is probably their defense is not great, but as
but
an
they've been
attack,
solid. But they've
yeah,
been
and
solid.
as an attacking unit, they're so strong
Yeah,
because
they're
they're a very strong team
mhm.
in terms of chemistry and just IQ in general.
Yeah, and they gave like some headaches to PSG.
Mm.
PSG didn't manage to beat them in either like home or away. And Benfica have been looking really strong. And because Juventus has been very poor this season, they haven't been able to get through the next round, and they're also going to the Europa League. The same as Barcelona, same as Atletico Madrid, same as Ajax. The Europa League is going to be looking very exciting. But PSG they won 7-2. You saw Eminem.
Yeah, the Messi brace,
Uh,
Mbappe
yeah,
brace,
they they played very well.
and they said
Um,
Messi was finished.
yeah, of course, nah, bro. The people who said Messi finished clearly don't watch him, because even if you watch him, you can tell that this guy still has so much quality. Um, they're just completely different. But just like these are not the games in which you judge PSG. We have to see PSG in the later knockout rounds, and when they
Where they
fail,
tend to choke. Yeah,
yeah, when they tend to bottle it. You think of the 6-1 in the Camp Nou, the games against Manchester United, etc. etc. PSG are looking very good under Garcia right now. But we have to see. We have to see how the team clicks after the World Cup, because after the World Cup, it's going to be looking completely different. But now moving on to the final game, it was Tottenham versus Sporting. There was some late drama at the very end. What do you make of that late game drama?
well, you can probably imagine what I gotta say. No, it was heartbreaking. It was very upsetting, and if you look closely at the play, he was onside. It
Hmm.
was a cross from Perisic into the into the box, and then Emerson Emerson Real headers it. It bounces off the defender. But even though, yeah, I guess he was trying to play Kane, who was um, like this in front of him, right? The
Yeah.
cross is here, and they're labeled to each other. They're level to each other, and we can see that Kane's foot is directly behind the defender,
Hmm.
if not slightly like equal to each other. So it was a tough decision to make.
Yeah.
It's one of those decisions. An ex Premier League referee, I forget his name right now. I'd have to look it up. Came out and they asked him, "Hey, well, what do you make of this situation?" He said, "Well, it's a very close play, obviously, but if you originally gave the goal and you took that long to determine it, you should just keep the goal."
No, because it changes the dynamics of the group.
Right
Because
now, and
when you look
listen,
at the group, like Tottenham could have been like set in stone as being first in the group.
hmm
Rather now we have to.
yeah, they have to tie at least against Marseille, which I'm sure they'll do because
Mhm.
you know
Yeah.
they've been playing well. That wasn't a good game, however, against Sporting. They were slow at the start. They weren't moving well. Um, and we saw Edwards actually finish an ex Spurs player
Hmm.
score on them. It was a nice goal, but then we saw the team pick up the intensity. We saw great performances from young players like Brian Gill, who I thought is phenomenal, and definitely deserves more playtime. And yeah, it's still a team that's getting back to form. I mean, they have important injuries such as Kulusevski, Richarlison, and not only that, it's also a team that's been rebuilding. This past season they've been better, and the latter half of last season, but they still got long ways to
Hmm.
go. So it's only a
No,
matter of
yeah.
time. I
Hmm.
think they should get the win or at least the tie against Marseille.
Let's hope they do because I would really like to see Conte match up against the big boys
You
in
know,
the Champions
and
League.
and that's the thing. Spurs obviously they get a lot of hate because they don't have a lot of silverware. I mean, they do. They have plenty of silverware. I promise you, I was there. I saw it in the stadium trophy cabinet. But in recent years, of course, they've been dry in that sense, and it's important for the fans
Hmm.
and the players to win some. So
Yeah.
you know, maybe they
Um,
can do something instead of Barca. So guess who we'll be rooting? Guess who we'll be
yeah.
rooting for?
Yeah. But to round off, we're going to be looking at the Manchester City game. They drew 0-0 against Dortmund, and we saw Sevilla win 3-0. Sevilla getting some points in the board, but unfortunately they're headed to the Europa League. And
Yeah.
Manchester City, Haaland didn't score. He was subbed off at halftime. I think it was a very even game. What were your thoughts on that game?
Well, let's not be let's not be dumb. We know exactly what Guardiola was trying to do. He doesn't care about the group stage anymore. Not that he needs to. Dortmund's in second place. Even if they do win, they'd still. Well, I mean, they tie actually, but that's beside the point. That's not. It doesn't matter because Sevilla's 5 points away. They knew what was gonna happen. They only care. He only cared, to show up. He even played Alvarez, I believe, in the
Yeah.
game, who's
Oh,
a
yeah, no, right.
phenomenal player, but sadly
Yeah.
doesn't get a lot of playtime because Haaland is there.
No, I mean, like, yeah, you have Haaland in front of you, like you have the world's best striker.
But I mean, it was a boring match. I watched it for a few minutes, and I just got out because again, it was pretty boring, and I don't think City really cares.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
rested,
It
they
just,
rested
it
key
just, it,
players.
yeah, it's going through the motions. They're already qualified, and it's just about getting to the next round.
For
But
sure.
guys, that was it for our UCL roundup. We looked at most of the games on match day 5. We have some big names dropping to Europa League. It's going to be very hard for teams like Barcelona to basically win the Europa. You have Arsenal, Manchester United, Ajax, Juventus, Sevilla, Atletico Madrid, and ourselves included. It's going to be very tough. But as always, guys, I post a link on Twitter. If any of you guys want to join the hangout, you're always welcome to. If you guys want to join in our discussions, but as always, like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you guys all in next week's episode.